It starts to affect like your blood pressure, or you're losing sleep over it because you can't let go of the angry thoughts, or if you're starting to dismiss someone else's feelings, or you start to take your anger out on them.
So I don't think the anger itself is a problem. I think that the minute you find that your feelings or anger is controlling you more than the other way around, then it might be a sign that you need help. And I think that also applies in the opposite end of the spectrum. So if you find that you're not being able to tap into your feelings much at all, that may also be a sign of suppressed emotions, and I think that can be quite destructive in your life. I think that our minds are so complex, and we rarely get taught as children how to regulate our emotions in a healthy manner. So it doesn't surprise me that they can then cause problems to us in our adult lives. So psychotherapy has helped me a great deal in understanding my anger, tapping into it, and finding out ways to deal with it better and regain that sense of control.
So I think feeling angry is just part of life. I think everyone feels it and it's normal, but I think when it becomes a problem, it's when it kind of interferes in everything that you do, or maybe your daily life, and maybe things that you used to do aren't fun anymore. And I think that's when it becomes a problem, and I think that's when you ought to look for support or something to help you channel your anger and how you feel.
For me personally, I feel that harboring anger can really change relationships between family members and friends. If a certain situation happens and we really harbor the anger towards them after the situation has passed, it can really sour the relationship if we continue to hold on to those feelings. Some people can even become estranged from their family if they continue to harbor these feelings, and in the future they feel quite lonely and depressed because they're not really close to their family anymore. In some situations can also cause domestic violence and lead to violent tendencies, and overall, if it's not managed well, it can really lead to detrimental effects to the individual.
Anger is an extremely toxic and an extremely dangerous emotion, simply because you end up saying things to people that you really don't mean at times when you're angry, and there's no real way of controlling it. It's just a burst of energy just directed at a person, right? And that can be really harmful, because sometimes you end up saying things that you really don't mean, and you end up hurting that person's feelings.
So I think first of all, I try and make sure that I'm even aware that I have anger or that I'm feeling angry, because sometimes it can be hidden underneath other emotions or even anxiety. So the first step for me is to kind of prevent it from becoming implosive. I need to be able to tap into my anger. So the first stage is just acceptance, so knowing that I'm angry and telling myself that it's okay to feel angry. So I think once I have tapped into the anger, or I have already reacted in an angry way, I take some space from the situation so that I can process it on my own. I find that I do that better, and it gives me some time to think about it as opposed to just reacting even more on the current situation. So I then try and feel my anger more and process it by either through meditation or just talking to myself about it out loud and thinking about why I've been angry, trying to find out what I experienced every moment of the conversation or the situation that occurred. And if I find that it's disproportionate, for example, to the current situation, I ask myself, has this then been triggered by something from the past? And so I channel that to the correct kind of, source. So once I've kind of felt my anger and I've rationalized the situation with myself, I then will try and talk to the person who was involved, and hopefully, especially if they're not judgmental, either I talk to them or I talk to someone else who I can trust. And I eventually calm down. I think something that also helps practically is remember my love for the other person too. So the key is to form a balance between feeling your anger for me and also bearing in mind the love you have for the other person, so that you don't hurt either them or yourself by suppressing your feelings. So it's all about acceptance for me.
usually control my anger by taking long showers. It usually helps me cool down, rethink over why I'm angry, and then it helps me decide what I need to do next.
I try to deal with my anger by exercising or doing yoga or just writing my thoughts out, because then I'm able to catch some of, gain a different perspective on some of the thoughts that I've been having.
I found that the things that have helped me calm down when I'm angry tend to be prayer. Recently, that's something I've kind of really been getting into as a sort of as a way to improve my well-being. And I found that prayer really kind of helps me be critical. It helps me kind of press pause on what I'm doing, especially when I'm angry, and kind of really helps me think about where it went wrong and kind of admit it. Because a lot of the times I find that we don't really admit it to ourselves, we don't really say it out. So I found that that's what prayer kind of helps me do. Other than that, I found that a lot of times going for walks, after a certain encounter, a certain situation has happened which has caused me to become very angry. So kind of physically separating myself from that situation or from that person that has made me angry is a really nice way for me to kind of help control my anger. Going for a walk, listening to some music, or listening to a podcast or something kind of really helps me calm down after an incident.
I would say I control my anger by, I think I first have to accept the fact that I feel angry, and I have to accept the fact that I feel angry, and I have to take in my feelings, and that makes me feel like I understand why I feel that way, and I just channel it by getting my mind off it, going outside, doing other things.
When I feel angry, it's either at myself, family, or friends. If I'm angry at someone else, like family or friends, I normally cope by taking a moment to just process and think to myself why that situation or that person is upsetting me, and what things were said during that time and how I'm feeling. I normally then distract myself by watching a show that I like on Netflix. And if I'm still feeling upset, I talk to someone like a close friend to talk about how I'm feeling and talk through my feelings and how I can, get through the situation. Sometimes I even go for like a long run or a shower just to make me feel better and gain some perspective. Many times I feel like we don't really see where the other person is coming from, and to prevent us from getting angry at them for future occasions, we can help better understand their personality and why they might be reacting a certain way. If I'm angry at myself, I normally take some time to do some reflection, maybe by writing down why I'm upset, or I even watch YouTube videos as to how I can improve myself.